That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I'm Sid Part 2, and I've got just 3 books and a trade this week to talk about. What a trade, and what great books. Okay, so let's talk about, first off, the final issue of Darth Vader. And I want to make an announcement before I start talking about the book itself. I will be doing a Geeky Gentleman on this with some special guests to the channel. I'm really excited on it. Not just this issue, the entire run. I just finished rereading the run in anticipation of this last issue, and I'm really excited to talk about it. So let's just focus on this issue. My immediate complaint about it, and I hate to complain about things, is the first couple pages are a little bit of a retread of something that just happened a few issues ago, where Vader had to quickly, ram his TIE fighter into these space whale ships of silos in order to board them before they could go to warp. Or hyperspace, whatever. And so it's just a repeat of that. And so it kind of loses its impact on the action. But then we get some kind of neat stuff with Silo trying to attack Vader using all of his clones. And in doing that, Vader's has this really great line. He's like, "You are wrong, Silo. That I can kill you repeatedly is by far your most appealing trait." And then he just murders all of them. It was fantastic. And then the way he dispatches Silo is really cool, but my issue with this is we're only a couple pages in, and the whole build-up of how he's defeated, his rival is really, really minimal. And that would be okay, especially if there was more plot in this issue, which there's enough. But then they spend a bunch of pages here in the back on this backup with the Tusken Raiders. And I don't really like this backup story. There's no dialogue. I have a hard time figuring out what's going on. That's not even the number of pages that they spent on it. Hold on. Okay, there's the number of pages that we spend on the Tusken Raiders, and then there's the number of pages that we spend on the Darth Vader fight, and here's the bulk of the issue. So we're still getting plenty of plot. I'd say it's about maybe a third, roughly. But I would have preferred more action, more page happening on the beginning with the whole Silo thing, because that's the one I'm emotionally invested in, even if it was just action shots, or if it was more dialogue with Silo. I would have really enjoyed that about it. But what's good about this is most of, not necessarily all, but most of the plot stuff. And this is kind of where the whole Star Wars expanded universe problem kind of kicks in. Because Dr. Aphra, 000, BT, and Black Wookiee, Black Costanza, or however you say his name, those are all really cool characters, and I really love them, and I love how they relate to Vader, and I would love to see more stories with them. They're not in the fucking movies, and I don't want to go through and re-edit the movies to, put 000 in the background of one of Vader's scenes or anything like that. Or do I want to do that? I kind of want to do that. 000 is one of my favorite characters. I've had this for the longest time, and it's one of those Christmas presents where you got it and you're like, yeah, I really like Star Wars. So someone, I think my mom, got me this for Christmas one year, and you know what, I don't really like C-3PO. You ask me what I like about Star Wars, it's not fucking C-3PO. But this would be really good as a custom 000 figure. I could paint the eyes red, paint the rest of the body black. Maybe add some... Oh, yeah, because I could add the hand touches right there. It'd be a pretty kick-ass custom figure of 000. Very tempting. Leave your comments. Do you think I should make a 000 custom figure? I want your input, people. But anyway, back to the wider point. These are all really cool characters, and I would like to see more stories with them. But the problem being here that they're not in the movies, so we can't really. And that just... The way they get rid of them but keep them around. Because, like, you're left with a couple options when you set up characters in a universe like this. You can either kill the characters, which can be an emotionally satisfying ending for them, or you can find a way to write them out of the story so that they are no longer an issue. And then you can continue telling more stories with them without them being dead, and maybe they can cross paths again in more extended universe stuff. But the way, the path he chooses is to write them out of Episode 5. Because otherwise these characters would have been in Episode 5. So the path he chooses... I just don't like it. He has Aphra trick Vader in that she planned for him to throw her out an airlock instead of kill her with a lightsaber. And I really like Vader throwing her out of an airlock. It's a really well-written scene. And she says that she knew he wouldn't be kind and just kill her with the lightsaber. So that's how she could be, sure that she'd survive. And, 000, BT, and Black Krrsantan, and whatever, the Black Wookiee, pick her up and, save her. So she planned for all that to happen. But I don't know, it's just such a... I don't like the way that she's able to trick Vader, and I get that she's a tricky, bitch. But I really like the idea that she gambled and lost with the Emperor, because I like Dr. Aphra. She's an interesting and cool character. I like 000, BT, and 000 and BT more. Those are the ones that I want to stick around. Dr. Aphra, when you play with Vader, you die. That just makes sense, especially as we get to Episode 5 Vader, who's on a goddamn rampage. So this... I don't love it. I don't love that she survived. I would have really liked if she told the Emperor everything, and then he forced Vader to kill her, kind of like in Force Unleashed, when Palpatine found out about Darth Vader's apprentice. I just don't like Aphra surviving. Aphra, I wish, had been killed. Black Krrsantan can just go off. He's a bounty hunter. He doesn't need to be involved in the story anymore beyond what he's been, and then he can come back at any other point. And 000 and BT can just be Vader's agents. I really wanted that to happen as opposed to her being able to trick Vader. Her I don't want to see come back, but whatever. I do really like this ending. I'm kind of in the mode where I want to go headcanon that she didn't survive this. Then we get our explanation of what happened to General Tag since they decided to leave him alive. That he didn't die on the Death Star. This is the one that Vader force choked in Episode 4. So we finally get this this conclusion of what happened to him, because he's been kind of bossing Vader around all throughout the run. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's a really good issue. I love the way Palpatine is proud of Vader for working behind his back, but that he doesn't know, or does he? So at the end of the last issue, Dr. Aphra went to Palpatine. Dr. Aphra went to Palpatine, and the idea was she was going to tell him everything about what Vader had her running around the galaxy doing in order to save her own neck. And then Vader comes to talk to Palpatine, and he's like, and Palpatine says, "I've just heard a full report from your friend." And he just leaves her for Vader to deal with after telling Vader how proud he is of him. And she's like, oh, well, I didn't tell him anything about that rebel kid that you're looking for, and then Vader sends her out an airlock. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if Palpatine, because I'm trying to remember. There's the scene in Episode 5 where Vader says, the child of Anakin Skywalker. And if she didn't tell Palpatine about the kid, then that still remains a plot hole. That's a puzzler. I'm not sure if they're going to explain that eventually or not, at least in this continuity. Yeah, so I did enjoy this overall. I know I've been really critical on it, but that's just because of how much I loved it. Last stupid minor nitpick. Last point, stupid minor nitpick. There we go. I don't like that no one's working on the bridge of the executor. That just bothers me. There's like 3 dudes down in the corner, and then there's Tag's body, but no one else is on the bridge. That just kind of bothers me. You need like at least a couple bridge officers. Yeah, I don't know. I like that Palpatine is really proud of Vader for working behind his back, because if he doesn't know that Luke Skywalker is alive, right? If he doesn't know who Luke Skywalker is or anything, then it makes sense that he would be proud of Vader, because Vader is then taking steps wholly as a Sith who wants nothing but power for himself. And so that really makes sense as to why Vader is proud of him for that. And it still does to a degree, even if he knows that that Luke Skywalker is Anakin's son. But less so, because then there's the familial connection, there's the want for revenge. It's too personal, and it's not for power in and of itself. It's too dutiful, might be the word. I'm not sure. That one's kind of irking me a little bit, because I'm not sure when or if Palpatine... Because that's just a weird scene then. If Palpatine doesn't know that Luke Skywalker is Vader's child. Because then what the fuck with Episode 5? That's weird. I don't know. It's not like a problem with this book. It's a problem with the entire franchise and trying to do a, oh, you don't know this moment in a movie that came out decades ago at this point. So I'm just hoping that this writer, Kieron Gillen, gets to keep going with this and explain it further. Who knew that Amy from Doctor Who was such a good Darth Vader writer? I love that joke. Fucking love that joke, man. But yeah, I really do love this. There's always some stuff with panels that I really like in this book. Let me find it. Yeah. There's this great little scene with Palpatine, Vader, and Tag. And, like, importantly, you can't read the word balloons. But just everything about how the people are drawn right there, and then in the next panel too, I think greatly communicate a lot all on their own. And I think that's fantastic. I really like that little sequence of panels there. Like, this page is just great. Like, look at that. Look at that. He's like, okay, so he's all like, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then he puts his hand on his shoulder. And then he's like, look at the Emperor's face in that. Look how fucking evil he looks as they're both looking at Tag. And then look how meek Tag looks. Oh my god, that is such a... The way Vader's framed, the way he's bigger than him. I fucking love it, man. Just fantastic writing. not just writing, but just fantastic way to use the medium. I love it to death. Kristan. Krrsantan. Chrysantin? However the fuck you say the Black Wookiee's name. I really don't care for the whole thing with the Tusken Raiders. I'm sure it could be good if they do more with it and stuff, don't get me wrong. But I just don't care for it on its own. I think it's a waste of pages, to be honest with you. When this is the conclusion of the series, I would have appreciated if all the pages in this that were not ads went to concluding the series, as opposed to setting up something else down the line. Because I'm sure that's what they're doing. I don't feel like that tangential thing that Vader did in the first or second issue is deeply enough connected to the events of these 25 issues to warrant its own, explanation. I know the writer is getting, with Marvel, another Star Wars book. I don't know what it's going to be. I bet it's going to be fantastic. I'll tell you that much. Okay, so I've talked about this book for like 16 minutes. So I think I'm good. I really fucking love that series, though. And remember, leave your comments. Should I turn this into a custom figure of 000 or not? Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is Wonder Woman Rebirth, number 8, written by Greg Rucka. I don't care for this issue that much. I like things about it a lot, but I think it's inconsistent with what little we've seen of past Barbara Minerva. That's her name, right? Yeah, Barbara Minerva, the cheetah, thus far in this series. And keep in mind, we've only seen one issue. In the issue we saw, she was an archaeologist and like kind of an Indiana Jones-like character, and she goes to meet Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman is talking about, oh, I saw the gods. And she's in prison. And Barbara's like, oh, okay, well, I can't help with this at all. I'm a linguistic expert. I can't help with someone believing in the gods and all this stuff. And they go, well, what about Superman and all these other things? She says, well, that's all scientifically feasible. But gods, that's all mysticism. And then Wonder Woman rips off the bars. So that viewpoint of that like hard scientific realistic approach does not line up well with the character we get in this book, because we are given a character who as a child is obsessed with mythology, the Amazons, Greek culture, that kind of thing, and then turns that into a career trying to find the Amazons, and then is at one point guided by Athena to where the Amazons came from, and then gets there and doesn't find anything. So I just don't feel like that's a very consistent portrayal of her, and that bothers me. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't feel that's a very consistent portrayal. And even though I like the issue on its own, I think it's an interesting issue on its own, given that it's supposed to set up a wider context, I'm having problems with it. Now, I can think of a way that Rucka might make this all work. If he were to say... I'm trying to think how to phrase this. If this is the moment that made her so down on myth, if that makes sense. If this experience that she has in this book is what made her only want to believe in the scientifically feasible or scientifically justifiable and not be willing to entertain wider ideas. Again, it's the fucking DC universe. There's literally a hand at the beginning of creation, so it's a harder thing to talk about, but she wouldn't know that, but still. It's one of those things. It's a really weird set of circumstances. So yeah, I'm kind of iffy on this book. I don't know if it really works with what we've seen so far or not. We'll have to see given subsequent issues. But I still enjoyed parts of it. Like I said, I enjoyed the story on its own. There's this really tragic moment at the beginning with, you know, Barbara and her father and her, like, tutor or whatever. And then there's, like, a fun, there's a fun moment as she's, like, exploring this tomb to finally unearth proof that the Amazons, did exist. She, like, finally gets proof, you know, blah, 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 12th queen of the Amazons. And then the, like, entire thing starts to cave in and she starts running out and she's like, oh, bloody hell, not fair, not fair, not fair. And she, like, just escapes as the entire thing crumbles down so that there's no way she can prove it. I really like that. That was just fun writing. Interesting. Just looking at some of the panels there. I like the idea of making Cheetah a bit of a genius. I've not read a ton of stuff with her, and most of the time she's written really generically, so I like that Rucka has a voice for her as, you know, kind of a scholar or someone who's truly fascinated, and I've liked the way that he's written her in the Lies story arc too. So yeah. Ooh, excuse me. Keep reading that. Again, I'm just always complaining about the same thing, going back and forth. Story arc to story arc. Just give me a fucking another book. I'll buy both, I promise. Alright. Final single issue of the week is Batman Detective Comics number 942. I guess I am putting, or this is by Orlando. I think it's Todd Orlando or James Orlando, maybe. Steve Orlando. Not even kind of close. I suppose I'm putting Steve Orlando in a really tough spot. Because when you have this sequence of 12 and then a 13th panel, when you have this sequence of panels, that has a very particular feel that is way too cheesy for someone who's not into that to just buy without any kind of real setup toward it. It's kind of hard to get wowed by something that's much more underwhelming than what it appeared you were trying to do. Okay, so I want you to look at this. Go row by row on the panels here. We have Batwoman, Nightwing, Spoiler, and Orphan. That's a stupid name. Entering different, like, secret entrances on different Wayne buildings. And then we have them all getting behind controls of some kind of machinery. And then we have their logos lighting up on buildings around Gotham. And then we have a big panel of Batwoman. So what do you think we're supposed to get when we turn the page, besides Batman and Hugo Strange? Because there's a scene with them. So what do you think we're supposed to get when we get back to them? Given that they are fighting a giant monster in Gotham City. With that particular setup of panels, what do you think? Because I think, okay, they're going to form a giant mech, like Power Rangers. And yeah, that'd be stupid. And I probably wouldn't like it because there isn't enough setup for that. But when you get me, I guess, hyped up for something that's going to be dumb but at least fun to look at, and then deliver buildings with turrets on the top of them, I am significantly disappointed. Like, I'm not a Power Rangers guy. Don't get me wrong. Fucking don't care. Just in the slightest. But when you set up... Like, they're even wearing fucking different colors. Nightwing's got the blue, Batwoman's got the red, Stephanie Brown, spoiler, has the pink, Orphan has the black and the yellow. You're setting up fucking Power Rangers in like the most Power Ranger-y situation you could possibly set up, and then you don't deliver on fucking Power Rangers. What, was it too silly? I'll admit, it was silly, but you needed another out besides let us set up a Power Rangers situation, then back the fuck up off that. That one actively annoyed me. And I'm not kidding. It is literally big-ass turrets on the top of buildings. That is it. That is so goddamn disappointing. Yeah, so I really didn't like that. Most of that side of the story I actually didn't like. The whole thing with Nightwing, you know, jumping into the monster's mouth and how that played into Hugo Strange's story was a bit better. But just the whole Watchtower thing, they'd been setting it up for like the entire story arc of this whole Night of the Monsterman thing. And that's all you do with it is fucking buildings with turrets? What? Ugh, there's such a letdown. So anyway, I feel like you could do this without the letdown of turrets with buildings with turrets on them. So anyway, Nightwing runs into the monster's mouth because he pieces together that there's a child at the center of everything because it's all part of Hugo Strange's plan. And that part I do like. You literally could have done that a million other ways, getting Nightwing diving into the monster's mouth. There are so many different ways you could have done that. So it does not even kind of earn enough credit for me to call it clever. Or for me to call the scenario that leads up to that moment of Nightwing having a realization and jumping into the monster's mouth worthwhile. What I do like in this issue, though, is the stuff with Batman and Hugo Strange. There's a really fucking cool page of Hugo Strange. It's a full page spread, and I really, really like this. Hugo Strange in a Batman costume, sitting on a throne of psychology books with a bloody bat symbol above his head. I really fucking like that. What's even more neat about it is like you get really close in on his face, and the tail of the bat is like covering his head, and it gives him this like really, really like classically evil look to him. So I really like that. And what's neat about it is he puts Batman in a situation where it's like your weakness will come out here. Well, excuse me. I'm going to prove that you are actually bad for Gotham and that I will be a better Batman for Gotham and all this stuff. I can't make out any of that. It looks like scribbles. They're like diagrams of Batman on the walls with like the cowl still on, but it's like a diagram of his brain. It's interesting. And there are like little labels pointing to different sections of the brain, so I was wondering if it might have some kind of relevance. So anyway, Hugo Strange's whole thing is he's actually wearing what he calls a suicide suit. So if Batman punches him or does anything to harm him, then he will kill Hugo Strange. I'm not sure what the other side of Hugo Strange's plan is exactly. Something with this kid inside the giant monster, but Dick figures that out. Anyway. But Batman, being Batman, has a really clever thing that he figures out with it. And they set it up nice and subtly, too. When Batman enters this room with Strange... I keep going back and forth in this book. When Batman enters this room with Strange, you see clear windows where you can see out to the city. And then the next time you get to a scene with Strange and Batman, see that something is on the windows. But it's such in the background, it's not like a really vibrant thing, so you don't quite notice it. And actually, you can see its progression on that page, because there it is, right there. It's kind of covering up a little bit. And there it is in the background of the next one. It seems to be creeping down, covering up more of the window. And Batman just keeps telling him to shut up. And then we get this great reveal of Clayface covering the top of the building, sucking or sealing off all the air in the building, which, you know, makes Hugo Strange black out because he doesn't have the ability to hold his breath as long as Batman does. And then there's like this great moment of Strange is like, can't be, no, and Batman has this really, really good moment. You thought projecting my faults as monsters would stop me. You don't understand me at all, Strange. I don't run from my monsters. I embrace them. I do like that. That's a good-ass scene. Yeah. Fairly well done. Pretty impressed with this issue. Overall, I still think the stupid not Power Rangers thing is kind of annoying. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. Anyone else feel like it was a wasted opportunity? Leave a comment below if you read the issue. Alright, I'm going to take a short break and be back to talk about this. Okay, and here we go with Green Lantern, the Sinestro Corps War. And this is where we get crossover for the first big time in the Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps book that was coming out at the time. And this is what's been set up for a while, and what Johns ultimately wanted to end up doing with this, with his run, is introducing all the different spectrums. And so we got a little bit to set up the Zamarons, and that was about it. But now we're actively, you know, shown the Sinestro Corps, what that is, what the hell is going on with that. And so we have an entire new corps of, like, evil Green Lanterns, essentially. Splash pages are cool. And this is just, like, the first half of this, Volume 1 of the Sinestro Corps War, as they begin to attack, the Green Lantern Corps, and they start by kidnapping Kyle Rayner and taking Ion, which is the willpower equivalent of Parallax. You have Parallax, who is the embodiment of fear. He is the entity of fear. And you have Ion, who is the entity of willpower, and they can inhabit a person, but Parallax controls, whereas Ion just empowers. And that actually makes a lot of sense with the ideas of fear and will. Fear grips you, it makes you act in ways that you otherwise wouldn't. Whereas if you have strong will, it just empowers whatever it is you're already doing. It makes your decisions stronger. It makes your convictions stronger. It makes your ability to decide, to put yourself through things, to will yourself to do whatever it is you set your mind to doing more sound. So I really like that. This is also where we get the moment from Green Lantern, the animated series, that they do it slightly differently, but it's the same essential thing where Ganthet and in the book Sid, Said, S-A-Y-D, Ganthet and Said are excommunicated from the Guardians for feeling emotion. And this is one of the problems with this book, with John's run, in that Hal Jordan fucking killed all the Guardians except for Ganthet. And then Kyle Rayner, when he was the only Green Lantern, helped to birth new Guardians that were young. And then they basically matured throughout his time as Green Lantern, in its alien physiology, so they can be mature, thinking adults by however many years you need them to be. But they still very much act and communicate with one another as if those events never occurred, as if they have always been the Guardians. And so they're just never really clearly explained what the fuck that's supposed to be. And it's really distracting, and I think it is one of the biggest problems with Johns' whole run, is not just with the Guardians, but with a lot of the age of all of this. I mean, it's already inconvenient enough that all these, millennia-old prophecies are happening in the course of a couple years in John's Green Lantern book, because it doesn't seem that there's a breather between any of it. But there still is all this shit happening in a couple years, and there are characters that are, billions of years old that aren't the Guardians. Left and right, there are characters who have been around for millennia who are not the Guardians, like Atrocitus, like Larfleeze. And so it just, how many ancient races are there in the galaxy? It's a really weird thought. And Larfleeze, when he got his own book, they just made fun of how stupid that was. So yeah, I don't particularly care for that side of it, and I think it is a big problem. But anyway, if you've seen Green Lantern, the animated series, you'll remember that really, really sad moment where the Guardians excommunicate Ganthet and send him off to go fuck about around the universe, and they do that to Sid and Ganthet here. Sorry, page. The main thing going on in here that's worthwhile is the fact that the Green Lantern Corps just gets their asses handed to them out of nowhere. The Guardians rewrite the Book of Oa to allow the Green Lanterns the ability to kill, to allow them to use lethal force, because they're just not enough of a threat when it comes to a war. And honestly, I don't like the idea of the rings not being able to kill. It just doesn't make much sense when you see, Green Lanterns explode ships in the middle of a battle, and it's like, oh, but everyone is okay. No, they're not. the whole thing that I like about Green Lantern is the idea that the damn ring will only help you be better at what you're already going to do. And so it's on you to decide what the right thing to do is. And so I'm slightly disappointed in the idea of the ring having those kind of limits in it. And so I like the idea of removing it and leaving it up to the wearer to decide what's okay and not okay, what's acceptable and not acceptable. Sinestro's just crazy good in here. I love this scene with Natu. She's on Korrigar. It's a great issue, and just to see her put through the ringer and just see how Sinestro manipulates people into doing what he wants them to do. And that's exactly what the entire point of the Sinestro Corps War is. And Johnson's talked about this. And I'll talk about this more when I do the second volume, probably next week or whatever. But, how to put this? Sinestro wants order in the universe, and he does see the Green Lantern Corps as something that can help maintain order. So really his ultimate goal in this is to better the Green Lantern Corps by making them be able to use lethal force. He has these conversations like, oh, you're an empty threat because you can't kill with the Green Lantern ring, so you're useless. And so to make themselves able to defeat the Sinestro Corps, since they're on a level playing field, they have to be on a truly level playing field. But it's not like, oh, okay, now we can kill Austin. It's like, holy shit. What are we supposed to do with that? So it has some gravity to it, and I really like that about it. The way Kyle is written here, as he's possessed by Parallax, is really, really fun. And I think, like, really smart writing for Kyle, because he calls Hal Jordan things like old man. And I just think that's really clever writing, because he's preying on what's kind of in the back of Kyle's head and also in the back of Hal Jordan's head. In that, Kyle was the one that picked up after him and in a lot of respects did the job better. Whereas Hal was kind of a, fuck up. I don't know. You know what I mean, though. Hal just wasn't very good at the Green Lantern job, and, he fell to fear and all this other stuff. So I don't know. I really like that. I think it's a nice little biting thing that Kyle was the one that picked up the torch, and Hal, in a way, even though they don't address it with each other, there is this sense that Hal feels somewhat inadequate to Kyle, and that exact feeling is how Kyle feels toward Hal, is that he feels like slightly less than Hal. So just to see them kind of confronting this all through Parallax is, I think, an interesting character dynamic to add. And Hal gets some not retribution, forgiveness, I don't know, from the Lost Lanterns, which are the ones that he defeated when he was Parallax. That was cool. God, Parallax with the open mouth is like the most terrifying thing ever. Oh. Anything else to talk about? The Battle of Mogo is really cool. All the Lanterns go to assist Mogo because he's under attack by the Sinestro Corps and the sentient planet Ranks, who has been built onto to become, or the sentient city Ranks, who has been built onto to become roughly planet-sized. And so there's Mogo And then there's Stell, who's the robot Green Lantern, and Green Man, who's, another random guy. And they're like, okay, it's 3 Lantern 2828. I compute that there are approximately 100 life forms within 1 minute of the surface and 10 times that behind. And 2 of us still. 3, says Mogo. 3 it is, Mogo, but the odds still look long. Odds of our survival under present conditions are approximately 16,000 to 1, even with Mogo's protection. That could, and here I was ready to die. And then, Gallows humor noted, but our deaths are of little importance, Lantern 2828. It is the survival of Lantern Mogo that must be ensured. Without him, the Corps could not develop the mental skills needed to control our rings. And then you have the Sinestro Corps member. Surrender lanterns and die quickly. And then all of a sudden, one of my favorite Green Lanterns shows up. Worry not, brothers. Now we are 4. Boozed is a fucking beast. Look at that construct. That's like several thousand times his size. And he's just tearing through Sinestro Corps members. That's awesome. Dave Gibbons is a fantastic writer, and he knows everything that makes Green Lantern both cool and fun at the same time. Oh, I love that. That's such a cool fucking moment. Oh my god, Dave Gibbons. It's going to sound crazy, but rereading this stuff, I will give Johns so much credit for doing such a great job to reinvigorate the character and reimagine the mythology and really take it places. I think that it was almost a mistake that Dave Gibbons was writing Green Lantern Corps at the same time Johns was writing Green Lantern, because Green Lantern Corps got so overshadowed, but it was so fucking good under him. God damn, Dave Gibbons just knows what he is doing and how to have fun, how to be, how to let things be tragic, how to just show fucking awesomeness. Oh, Dave Gibbons is such a good writer. I never knew that. Like, I'd forgotten who wrote this run, and I remember really enjoying it, but going back to it, I'm loving every bit of it. Dave Gibbons is a fantastic writer. Bizzed is such a cool character. I fucking love Bizzed. Oh. Yeah, and then just shit gets escalated more and more. We're getting a lot of impossible situations. Lanterns are dying left and right. Vath and Izamat are really neat characters, too. We have Sodom Yacht introduced in this story as well. And he was part of the whole Alan Moore prophecy thing. So he's kind of obligatory, but so far he's a nothing character. They develop him more as time goes on. But right now we're in the heat of the Battle of Mogo. And then the rivalry between Akrillo and Kilowog is awesome. Because they're entirely meant to be the same character on different sides. It's really, really fun. Only Akrillo isn't lovable. Akrillo's an asshole. Let's see if I can find it, goddammit. Where's that fucking cover? Yeah, there we go. Patrick Gleason cover. Of Akrillo and Kilowog. With Ranks and Mogo in the background. It's a really cool cover. So you got the stuff set up with them, you got the Guardians working in the background, and it's no shit moment when we get the reveal. Some cool moments with, or something kind of like oh shit moment with Hal's family up back on Earth too. Man, this is such a good book. Sinestro Corps War is, I think, the best of John's run, and then from this point on, it keeps a pretty consistent level of quality of this damn good. After Sinestro Corps War, until Blackest Night is, I think, the gold of his run. Sinestro Corps War, though, is when it really, really started to hit, and it just hit perfectly. You can tell he knew exactly what he was doing, and that he'd had it all planned out when he was writing this. And Dave Gibbons just did a fantastic job keeping pace with him, and I think he makes it all the better. There are a lot of people who are like, oh, I didn't even read the Green Lantern Corps book because it didn't affect the Green Lantern book enough. And you fucking missed out, friend. Because, damn, this is good. Yeah, we get a big cliffhanger. Yep. Good stuff. Really cool book. Fucking love it. It's great. Just, damn. Good shit. Alright, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Comic Reviews. I'd almost say... I'm tempted to say. I'm not going to say it, though. I'm tempted to say you could start reading Green Lantern with the Sinestro Corps War. But I think so much legwork is done to make a lot of the moments in this work as well as they do, that you would be hurting yourself to start here. What I think I'll say is read the John stuff up until Sinestro Corps, which is all the first volume of the omnibus, if you want to get it that way, but you're missing the core book, and I don't recommend doing that. Read the John stuff up until Sinestro Corps War, and at that point, if it's not working for you, then drop off. But everything Green Lantern up until that point, even the stuff that I don't love, like the Guy Gardner stories, it's so fucking good, guys. It's just awesome. I love it. So I'm going to be talking about the next volume probably next week. We'll see how this weekend goes. Don't want to make promises I can't keep. Anyway, that will do it for this week's episode of Comic Reviews, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Till next time.